Encyclopedia Brown. Everyone's favorite boy detective. Tracks them down. By Donald J. Sobel. Won the case of the champion skier. Dinner at the Browns' red brick house in Idyllwill was not like dinner in other homes. The Browns not only broke bread together, they broke crimes together. Mr. Brown was chief of police. People everywhere thought that he was the brains behind Idyllwill's wonderful record of law and order. Nobody could have guessed the truth. Behind Chief Brown's success was his only child, 10-year-old Encyclopedia. Chief Brown brought home his hardest cases. Encyclopedia solved them while eating dinner. Since he had begun secretly helping his father, no crook had escaped arrest, and no child had got away with ducking the law. Chief Brown would have liked to pin a medal on Encyclopedia every time his son solved a case. But what good would it do? Who would believe that the real mastermind behind Idyllwill's crime cleanup was a fifth grader? Besides, Encyclopedia couldn't have stood up under all the medals without getting flat feet. So Chief Brown said nothing. Encyclopedia never let slip a word about the help he gave his father. He did not want to seem different from other boys. However, there was nothing he could do about his nickname. Only his parents and teachers called him by his right name, Leroy. Everyone else called him Encyclopedia. An encyclopedia is a book or set of books full of facts from A to Z, like Encyclopedia's brain. He had done more reading than just about anybody in town. His pals said that when he turned a cartwheel, his head sounded like a bookcase falling over. But one evening Chief Brown brought home a case Encyclopedia couldn't solve during dinner. Chief Brown explained why. "We don't have any facts," he said. Mrs. Brown was relieved. "No wonder Leroy can't help you," she said. "What kind of crime is it, dear?" "Kidnapping," answered Chief Brown. "One of our ambassadors in Latin America has been kidnapped. That's all I've been told. The State Department wants me to fly down and see what I can do." "It sounds like a top-secret case," said Encyclopedia. "Boy, I wish I could go along." "You can," said his father. "The State Department wants my visit to look like a family holiday. So all three of us are going." The next morning Encyclopedia had his first view of Idyllwill from the sky. He couldn't tell the houses of the rich families from those of the poor families, the churches from the synagogues, or the delicatessens from the banks. Before he had had time to pick out his own house, the jet was flying over the Gulf of Mexico. He opened his book, Vertebrate Paleontology. As he reached the last chapter, the jet put down with a light bump. At the airport the Browns were met by a man in a dark suit. He said he was a chauffeur from the hotel. He loaded their bags into the back of a green car. As he started the engine, he introduced himself again. He was really Mr. Rico, a police officer. "The kidnapped man is Mr. Ware, your ambassador here," he said. "We are going to his home now." On the way, Mr. Rico told Chief Brown all the facts that were known about the case. Mr. Ware had been kidnapped 2 days earlier. He had been driving to a hotel in the mountains for a week of skiing. His empty car had been found in the snow 2 miles below the hotel. "Mr. Ware is a champion water skier," said Mr. Rico. But he had never skied on snow. He wanted to learn. "Had he ever been to the hotel in the mountains before?" asked Chief Brown. "No," replied Mr. Rico. He told no one where he was going except his wife. In fact, he got a room at the hotel under a different name. "Why did he want to do that?" inquired Mrs. Brown. "For safety's sake," replied Mr. Rico. "Foreign service has become dangerous here. People who don't like the government have taken to kidnapping foreign officials. How much money are the kidnappers asking for Mr. Ware's return? Said Chief Brown. The kidnappers never want money, answered Mr. Rico. They want their friends freed from prison. For Mr. Ware, they are demanding the freedom of 40 men being held in prison for crimes against the government. How awful! Exclaimed Mrs. Brown. Kidnapping an innocent man to win freedom for criminals. Mr. Rico continued. The night Mr. Ware disappeared, he gave a birthday party for himself. He was 45. He invited 6 friends. Each brought a gift. They came at 8 o'clock and found food, servants, and a note from Mr. Ware. The note said he'd had to leave the city early and for everyone to enjoy the party without him. Was there a reason for his missing his own party? Inquired Chief Brown. There was a weather report of a snowstorm due that night, said Mr. Rico. He must have figured that if he stayed for the party, he'd find the mountain roads to the hotel snowbound. So he left the city before the storm. Mr. Rico stopped the car in front of the ambassador's large house. He unlocked the front door. On the sofa in the living room were the 6 birthday gifts. I opened them, said Mr. Rico. I thought there might be a clue among them, but there wasn't. Encyclopedia and his father looked over the gifts. Each gift had a card bearing the name of the guest who had brought it to Mr. Ware's party. They were a spear gun from Bill Watson, a can of ski wax from Harry Smith, a face mask from Dan Persky, an air tank from Kurt Happer, a pair of water skis from Marty Benton, and a rubber diving suit from Ed Fergies. Mr. Rico said, Mrs. Ware is certain that her husband told no one about the trip to the mountains but herself. Mr. Ware must be a proud man, said Chief Brown. He doesn't want to be seen doing anything until he can do it well. Yes, agreed Mr. Rico. He is a champion water skier. But he didn't want anyone to see him learning to ski on snow and perhaps looking silly. So he kept his trip a secret. He must have told someone besides his wife, said Chief Brown. And that someone worked with the kidnappers. Mr. Rico nodded. But whom did Mr. Ware tell? Chief Brown looked at Encyclopedia. Encyclopedia whispered, he told. Whom? To the case of Smelly Nelly. Encyclopedia helped his father solve mysteries at the dinner table all year around. In the summer, he helped the children of the neighborhood as well. When school let out, he opened his own detective agency in the garage. Every morning he hung out his sign. One day Smelly Nelly came into the garage. She was only 9 years old. Yet she already had earned the money for her college education. She had done it with her nose alone. When she was 8, she had saved the city hall from being blown to kingdom come. She had sniffed out a leak in the gas line running into the building just as Mr. Barnes, the mayor, was about to light a cigar nearby. As a reward, the city council had set aside money to pay her way through the college of her choice. After that, no one called her by her real name, Nelida Theodora Shortridge. Everyone called her Smelly Nelly for short. Her nose didn't stop at sniffing gas leaks. It could smell a marshmallow roast or anything else 3 blocks away, rain or shine. When she came into the Brown Detective Agency, however, she wasn't using her nose. She was holding it. Ambergris, she gagged. Encyclopedia had read about ambergris. It is passed out by sick whales. It is found floating in southern waters and is used in making perfume. Don't just sit there, piped Smelly Nelly. Bring a bottle of oil of peppermint. Encyclopedia jumped to it. Within 20 seconds he was shoving an open bottle under Smelly Nelly's wonderful nose. She breathed deeply. Thanks, she sighed. It's the only thing to clear the passages. What snarled the sneezer? Asked Encyclopedia. Did you ever stand close to ambergris? Asked Smelly Nelly. It's worse than being scorekeeper at a skunk fight. She laid 25 cents on the gas can beside Encyclopedia. I want you to get back my ambergris, she said. Bugs Meany stole it. Give Bugs a free hand, and he'll stick it right into your pocket, said Encyclopedia. Bugs Meany was the leader of a gang of tough older boys. Encyclopedia had often been hired to stop their stealing and cheating. Let's go speak with Bugs, said Encyclopedia. The two children took the number 7 bus. During the ride, Smelly Nelly told her story. She had found the ambergris washed up on the beach at Lighthouse Point that morning while she was smelling for clams. Bugs Meany and his tigers were skin diving offshore, she said. I asked them to help me get the stuff home. The tigers had laughed and told her to go chase herself. So Smelly Nelly had to tell them the truth. A company in New York City was paying $5 an ounce for ambergris. I found a lump that must weigh 50 pounds, she said. Encyclopedia whistled and did some figuring, 16 times 50 times 5 $4,000. That's enough money to buy a car, he said. Bugs Meany thought the same, said Smelly Nelly. When he heard what ambergris is worth, he asked me if I thought he'd look good in a sports car. Then he told me to scram. The bus halted at the last stop, and the children got off. They walked along the beach toward Lighthouse Point. After about a mile, Smelly Nelly gave a cry and pinched her nose. Encyclopedia took the warning and did likewise. Another few steps brought them around a bend. They saw the lighthouse and the tigers. The tigers had done no more than beach their boat. They were lying on their backs, holding their noses and groaning. The lump of ambergris was still on the wet sand at the high tide line. It looked like a ball of dark gray wax. The tigers haven't got away with the stuff yet, said Smelly Nelly gleefully. The smell flattened em. Bugs Meany was the first to see Smelly Nelly and the boy detective. He shouted the alarm and sat up weakly. Beat it, he growled at Encyclopedia. Or I'll yank your tongue so hard your ears will roll up like window shades. Encyclopedia was used to Bugs' greeting. The ambergris belongs to Smelly Nelly, he said. She found the lump this morning. Me and my tigers found the lump on the bottom of the ocean while we were skin diving, retorted Bugs. Then how did it get on the beach? Demanded Encyclopedia. We rolled it under the water, replied Bugs Meany. Then we waited for the tide to go out so we could lift it into the boat. Why, you horse's neck, cried Smelly Nelly. You're lying. And I can prove it, added Encyclopedia. How? 3. The case of the flying submarine. The only thing Bugs Meany wanted for Christmas was a chance to get even with Encyclopedia. Bugs hated being outsmarted by the boy detective. He longed to screw Encyclopedia's head around so people would talk in front of his face behind his back. But every time Bugs got such ideas, he remembered Sally Kimball, Encyclopedia's junior partner. Sally was the prettiest girl in the 5th grade and the best athlete. She was also the only one boy or girl under 12 whom Bugs feared. Every time he had mixed with her, she had left him on the ground to cool. Because of Sally, Bugs never tried to push Encyclopedia around. He never stopped trying to gain revenge, however. We'd better watch out for Bugs, warned Sally. He's like a man fixing a 10-foot clock. He's always trying to get the upper hand. The detectives were biking into town to look over the new line of cheesecakes at the Tasty Delicatessen. They had taken a shortcut, which was a mistake. The dirt path was slippery with mud after a 2-day rain. The path led near Mr. Sweeney's auto body shop. Behind the shop stood the old tool shed which Bugs and his tigers used for a clubhouse. As the clubhouse came into view, a helicopter roared overhead. Encyclopedia glanced up and saw a tiny gray submarine flying through the air. It crashed into the thick woods west of the clubhouse. Encyclopedia and Sally jumped off their bikes. They dashed for the woods as Bugs Meany and two of his tigers, Dutch Color and Jess Ray, came racing out of the clubhouse. They all drew up at the muddy edge of a hollow. At the bottom rested the submarine. It was smashed, a total loss. "Man, oh, man," cried Bugs. "It's an enemy bomb." "It's a mini-sub, you baboon," corrected Sally. "Who ever heard of a sub that small and round?" jeered Bugs. "It's some kind of long-range bomb, that's what it is, sent by a certain country to blast us tigers." Bugs raved on about how a certain country was out to get every real American, like his tigers. Encyclopedia looked up at the sky. The helicopter had flown away. There was no place for it to land near the woods. Sally started down the muddy slope toward the sub. "Stay back," hollered Bugs. "That thing can go off any second." He winked at Dutch and Jess. Then he stuck out his foot, tripping Sally. She rolled down the slope. "It's an enemy spaceship," sang Bugs. "Those purple guys from Mars carry freeze guns. They'll turn you into an ice cream pie, rat-tat-tat." "Darn you, Bugs Meany," gasped Sally, wiping mud from her eyes. Bugs stepped toward Encyclopedia. "Us tigers will stand guard till the FBI arrives," he said. "You and Miss Mudbath can clear out now." "And give you a chance to steal everything inside the sub?" asked Encyclopedia. "Not on your life." "Okay, Mr. Foxy Nose," snarled Bugs. He lifted his fists. "You've been asking for this all summer." "Nobody's around, so don't you dare," shouted Sally. "Stay out of it," warned Bugs. "I don't want to dirty my hands on you." He made a great show of flicking a speck of mud from his otherwise clean pants. Jess strutted to where Sally was struggling up the slope from the submarine. "Me and Dutch will handle the dame," he boasted. He bent to push Sally. All at once he was sliding in the mud. Sally had grabbed his arm and yanked. Before Jess knew what was coming next, she had hit him in the stomach. The one punch tamed all three tigers. Jess lay in the mud making noises like a falling roof. Bugs and Dutch looked as if the roof had fallen on them. Jess," spluttered Dutch. "See, can you breathe?" Jess's reply was lost in the scream of police sirens. In a few minutes 6 officers, led by Chief Brown, had circled the sub. Encyclopedia learned from his father what was going on. The sub had been on its way to the naval base for tests. When it fell from the sling, the pilot radioed police headquarters, said Chief Brown. "It's a secret weapon. We must guard it till the Navy people can take over." "You got here just in time, Chief," said Bugs. In another hour, the sub would have been stripped clean. "How's that?" said Chief Brown. "I sure hate to tell you this," said Bugs. "Your son and Sally tried to break into the sub and steal what's inside." "We did nothing of the sort," protested Encyclopedia. "We aren't asking for medals, but I'll tell you that us tigers did our best to stop them without using force," said Bugs. "Liar," cried Sally. "If you had laid a hand on me, I'd have given you what Jess got." "You talk mighty big," said Bugs. "You know tigers don't fight girls." "Your son told Sally to open the sub," put in Jess. Bugs attempted to talk her out of it. "So she tripped him. After he went down, I tried to tell her she was doing wrong, but she's a wildcat. She tripped me, too." "She was trying to open the sub when you arrived, Chief," added Bugs. Chief Brown looked concerned. This is serious, Leroy. It's your word against theirs. Don't take my word, Dad, said Encyclopedia. Look at what? For the case of the boy boxers. Sunday afternoon, Encyclopedia was reading the newspaper when the telephone rang. The caller was Elmer Otis. He talked so fast that Encyclopedia had to run in place to keep up. Elmer, said the boy detective. Elmer! Calm down. I'm calm as a clam, shot back Elmer. Get the police. Get your father. What's the trouble? Asked Encyclopedia. I'm at the youth center, said Elmer. Somebody just robbed the cash box in the office. The cash in the office of the youth center never amounted to more than $3. The money was kept in a cigar box. It was used to make change for the candy and soda machines. This isn't exactly a case for the police, said Encyclopedia. It's a case for someone, replied Elmer. You'd better get over here while the trail is hot. Hot trails always warmed Encyclopedia's blood. He climbed on his bike and rode to the youth center. He was surprised to find Sally sitting outside. Boys, she muttered in disgust. What's the matter with boys? Demanded Encyclopedia. They do more talking than punching, answered Sally. She explained. Although the youth center was usually closed on Sundays, Elmer and two pals, Pete and Oscar, had been allowed to use it. They were training for the junior boxing championships next week. They wanted me to lace on their gloves and act as referee, said Sally. But... phew! They're afraid to get hit. I grew sick of watching them. So I came outside till they need me to take off their gloves. They're saving themselves for the tournament, I'm sure, said Encyclopedia in defense of his sex. Then he told Sally about Elmer's telephone call and the stolen money. Did you see anyone leave the building while you were sitting out front? He asked. No, the building is empty except for those 3 cream puffs, said Sally. She frowned and suddenly clapped her hands. Wait! Jim Hill. I saw him come from behind the building. He walked away in a terrible hurry. Tim could have sneaked in and out by the back door, observed Encyclopedia. He may be the thief. Not Jim, objected Sally. He wasn't even smart enough to become a tiger. Bugs Meany says he stands in front of a mirror with his eyes closed to see how he looks when he's asleep. Maybe Jim had help, murmured Encyclopedia. The 2 detectives went inside. Elmer, Pete, and Oscar were in the gym. They wore boxing gloves. Elmer was shadowboxing in a corner. Pete and Oscar were sparring in perfect safety. Neither came within a mile of landing a punch. When I hit you on the nose, you'll smell leather for a week, promised Oscar without moving closer. Yeah. Well, if I hang one on your chin, your socks will fly off, retorted Pete, keeping his distance. The windbags, thought Encyclopedia. Sally could deck them both in half a round. Elmer stopped shadowboxing and came over to Encyclopedia. The theft must have happened a few minutes after Sally went outside, he said. The 3 of us were in the gym. We heard a crash in the back of the building. Did you all go to see what it was? Asked Encyclopedia. Yes, it was a lamp, said Elmer. I'll show you. The children walked down the hall to the back of the building, turned right, and entered the office. The cigar box, in which the money was kept, lay on the desk, empty. A broken lamp was on the floor. We left everything as you see it, said Elmer. Encyclopedia opened the large office closet. Next, he walked out of the office and tried the back door. It opened from the inside. It was locked, however, to anyone on the outside. Did any of you three leave the gym by himself? Asked Encyclopedia. We all did at one time or another, said Elmer. We went for a drink of water. The water fountain was across the hall from the back door. Encyclopedia stepped on the foot pedal and took a drink. The office, the back door, and the water fountain can't be seen from the gym, he said thoughtfully. And the office can't be seen from the water fountain or the back door. Is that a clue? Asked Elmer. Of course, exclaimed Sally. Any one of you could have gone for a drink, opened the back door, and let in the thief without being seen. But the thief couldn't have escaped without our seeing him, protested Elmer. When we heard the crash, Oscar, Pete, and I rushed to the office. And while Elmer telephoned you for help, Pete and I were at the water fountain, said Oscar. The thief couldn't have slipped past us. The thief didn't, said Encyclopedia. When he knocked over the lamp he hid in the closet. Not until you three had looked around the office and returned to the gym did he run out the back door. Do you really believe one of us helped the thief? Asked Elmer angrily. The other way around, said Encyclopedia. The thief helped one of you. Whom did Encyclopedia suspect? 5. The case of the model universe. Encyclopedia was sweeping the garage after dinner when he saw Hugo Dipman walk into a lamp post. Hugo, called Encyclopedia. Are you all right? I'm okay, gasped Hugo. He staggered around on the sidewalk as if he didn't know whether he was on his head or his heels. I was looking up at the stars and counting my money. Counting, said Encyclopedia. Hey, you're hurt worse than you think. I may be walking around like a left-footed pony, but I know what I'm talking about, hissed Hugo. I'm going to make money out of the stars. Wilford Wiggins says so. Wilford Wiggins was a high school dropout. He kept Encyclopedia busy stopping his get-rich-quick deals from cheating the children of the neighborhood. You can't trust Wilford, warned Encyclopedia. He'd rather cheat than eat. Why, he'd pin a badge on a frankfurter and sell it as a police dog. I know Wilford is as crooked as a corkscrew, said Hugo. But this time it's different. He's really got a plan to make all us little kids millionaires. What's the plan? Asked Encyclopedia. Wilford says he'll make any kid $5 for every star that can be seen with the naked eye, said Hugo. Wilford is holding a meeting at 2 o'clock tomorrow in South Park to explain his idea. Wilford forgot to tell me about the meeting, mused Encyclopedia. He's not exactly wild about you, pointed out Hugo. You've put him down so often he's beginning to squeak like a drawbridge. Trouble is, he always comes back up, said Encyclopedia. I think I'd better go along with you tomorrow. After lunch the next day, Encyclopedia left Sally in charge of the detective agency. He went with Hugo to South Park. We're just in time, said Hugo. Wilford Wiggins was standing close to the statue of Abraham Lincoln. Boy, is he trying to look wise and honest, murmured Encyclopedia. The phony! I wouldn't believe him even if he swore he was lying. A large crowd of children had gathered in front of Wilford. He raised his hands and called for quiet. Step right up, boys and girls, he began. I'm going to tell you how you can get so rich and important you'll need 2 desks, one for each foot. Your jokes get worse, complained Benny Breslin. Okay, I'm no clown, said Wilford. I'm a square shooter. I'm going to let you in on the biggest secret deal of your lives. In the back of the crowd someone started clapping. Wilford believed he was being applauded and bowed. "Aw, you big dummy." "I was slapping my head to keep awake," shouted Bugs Meany. He pushed to the front. Tell us your money-making idea and cut out the chin music. You can't wait, kid, said Wilford. Greed, it's wonderful. Everyone wants easy money. Well, your friend and neighbor Wilford Wiggins is going to get it for you with this. He reached into his pocket. The children pressed forward. Here it is, cried Wilford. Here is the money-making wonder. The children stared. What is it, you ask? Wilford went on. I'll tell you. It's a half-inch model of the Earth. He passed the tiny ball among the children. Then he continued, my partner, Professor Wolfgang Schmidt of Germany, is building a model of the universe. We'll show it all over America. Making a model universe will cost a lot, won't it? Said Desmond Durand. You've got to spend money to make money, replied Wilford. Professor Schmidt is trying to raise $1 million. He'll need to manufacture thousands of stars and planets and moons and whatnot. Every child will want to see this exhibit. Every man and woman. The model of the Earth was passed from hand to hand. At last it reached Hugo. Sure looks good, he said. You can see with your own eyes that I'm not trying to trick you, said Wilford. You can buy a share each and every one of you in this greatest show in history. How much is a share? Demanded Bugs, still doubtful but giving way to the call of easy money. $5, replied Wilford. In 2 years your measly $5 will have grown into millions. The thrill of those millions swept through the crowd of children. More people would come to see the model universe than watched football. We could put the exhibit in the Astrodome, said Carl Betts. The suggestion started a storm of excitement. The children argued about where to put the model universe on exhibit. The Yankee Stadium. The Rose Bowl. Lucy Phibbs had the biggest idea. Put it in the Grand Canyon, she shrieked. Nobody could top